Hello, everybody. Welcome. My name is Ben, and I'm starting a new podcast here, and hopefully, you all enjoy it. This is the first episode, so bear with me. I'm sure I'm going to have mistakes and fumblings and things like that as I go forward, but I wanted to begin this podcast really to be an opportunity to share, to talk, to grow, and learn. For me individually and for those that I know and care about in my neighborhood. And this new first episode, which is PTSD-iRL, really has mostly to do with a traumatic event that I had about 5 years ago in the fall of 2017. When I suffered an accident and was on fire. I don't recommend it. It's not enjoyable in any way, shape, or form. And those of you that have been on fire, I'm sure you can relate. And since I don't see a lot of channels talking about trauma and PTSD and being on fire and those types of things, I felt it would be important to offer this. Not to mention that it just helps me, to be honest. I suffered first, second, and third degree burns across my hands, arms, and on my back. It was life-altering, to be honest, and forward about it. I don't even recognize the person that I was before, and still figuring out who I am now. And I'm sure that many of you that have gone through similar trauma have experiences like that. Now, today I'm going to talk about the accident, but not all of my videos are going to be on that. Quite a few, especially the Dialogue-iRL format, is going to be conversational. I'm going to engage people that I know and care about that I think are interesting, that have a lot of interesting things to say that could impact your life and what you know and help us all grow. We'll just pick topics that come to our mind, very conversational and very free-flowing. And then I'll probably have some silly things in there as well, because we can't be all just doom and gloom and sad and dour. I think the shorts that YouTube has will be fun for that. So look for those incoming. And if you enjoy what you see here today, be sure to like, subscribe, and share. I do appreciate that because, as you all know, that's how these channels grow. So, as I mentioned, after the accident, I ended up in the burn center, and it was not fun, but it was something that opened my eyes quite a bit and it made me grateful because I got to go home. I was the only one in the burn center while I was there that could get up and walk around, and the only one that I could see that wasn't on a ventilator, and the only one that went home while I was there. Noticing that and being aware of that does give me insight and gratefulness now where I'm at, especially here 5 years later. And I know not everybody's had that opportunity. Not everybody has been able to move forward from an accident like that and have most of their mobility and function. I've got my hands back. I can use them after quite a bit of occupational therapy and learning to articulate the fingers again. But I'm not the same, and I have a lot of PTSD going on in my head. And unless I find a way to talk about it and share it and express it and let the feelings be felt and acknowledge them and move forward, I worry about those walls that get created in this type of event in your life and how that comes out with those that you love and care about, and the meaningful relationships and things that you have in your life. So here we are today. If none of you have been through fire accidents, don't do it. Even though it was probably the, weirdly to put it, best worst accident or best worst thing that's ever happened to me. I say that because I became somebody different afterwards. I discovered I was a pretty selfish person before who didn't focus on everything that I should have, and was always living for the moment and not considering the long term, the meaningful and things that are eternally important in your life, really. And now I do. I mean, when you're stuck at home for the better part of a year and dependent upon others for everything, you find that you're not all that, and you recognize things that are important a little easier than when you're engaged in day-to-day work and all of the things that we have to deal with in modern life. So I don't recommend it. The debridement, which, if you don't know what that word means, do not Google it. You'll get some horrible pictures. Essentially, debridement is when you have to peel the growing skin off during recovery. It's extremely painful. I've been through a lot of pain in my life. I've had reconstructive surgery on my ankles. I've been hit by a car. I've had my cheek torn open during some construction work. But nothing that I've ever felt prepared me for debridement and what that felt like. Because in third degree burns, you still have your nerves intact. And you've got to peel that skin away for new growth and continually until it really starts to develop. It's just a giant scab, really, that needs to heal. And we all peel the scabs, but we're not sitting there scrubbing it and really cleaning up. And debridement requires you to do that. Suffice to say, it's like taking a cheese grater to your skin and then taking soap and doing it again, and then do it again, and do it again the next day until it's healed to the point where you don't need to do that anymore. And then the real fun starts at that point, because you realize you're healed physically, and you become aware of your limitations at that point physically, because the new growth is very, very tight and won't allow you to grip things and articulate your fingers, and you got no finger strength, and your arms are weak, and all of this, and anything you bump into just wants to break open the skin again because it's so delicate. I remember during occupational therapy, it was a day that I nearly broke emotionally. Nearly. I mean, if I hadn't had the support of my family there with me, I would have. Because they have a test to evaluate where you're at, and at the beginning, and then towards the end, during progressively, they evaluate you and see where you're at, and then at the end, you got to be able to do the whole thing. But it's a pegboard with screws that are embedded in the pegboard vertically, and you take simple washers, a couple of them, and nuts that are in a bowl, and you've got to be able to, or rather, I'm sorry, on a plate. Bowl would have been easier, but they're on a plate, and you've got to be able to pick them up and put the washer on individually, put another one, just like that, and then take the nut and screw it on, and then do another one, do the next one, and see how many you can do in 5 minutes. That first day, that first time, I work on things. I deal with this stuff my whole life. Picking up a nut, picking up a washer, screwing a nut on. Should have been simple. I couldn't get the first one on. I couldn't even pick up the first washer. I felt so despondent, so broken emotionally. That I didn't know how I was going to go forward. I didn't know what life was going to look like from that point on. But without my family there, encouraging me and loving me, I think I would have broke. Suffice to say, here, almost 5 years later from the accident, I've got use of my hands and I can pick things up. I can type and start a YouTube channel and talk to you all. After that, then it's all here. It's dealing with that trauma and trying to figure out, what does recovery look like? Not healing. So I don't think there's ever going back. You can't be that same person you were before. You can't erase the past. We can only choose how we move forward. We can only define what that looks like. But it's hard when you can barely understand what the moment looks like. And when you have trauma like this and PTSD, it's a challenge. I have been in therapy since the beginning. It's been helpful. But difficult to open up because it's so personal, so much about you and your focus. And you're talking with a therapist, which is helpful to get things out. But one thing that I wish I did after the accident that I did not do was to be a part of some type of trauma groups and be able to not only share and express myself, but to hear other stories, to hear what other people are doing, how they've managed and found recovery. Just that shared connectedness. Because when it's just you and the therapist, it's really just you. They're listening and they offer certain things here and there, but it's really you. And when you don't even know who you are anymore, that's so hard. And I have a lot of what I call lost moments, lost time. It's gotten less frequent, thankfully, than it was, especially the first 3 years. But they're still there. They still happen where I have moments that are just, I'm there, but I'm not there. I have these lost moments, I call them. And I know it's the brain protecting itself from the trauma and the whatever may have triggered it or what have you. I don't like them because I like to be aware. I like to be present. And I don't know how to help it other than, as my family we like to say, is, let the feelings be felt. They're being felt and they're screaming. Sometimes you just gotta let them out and feel them, acknowledge them, so that you can find some way to go forward. A lot of what I deal with these days are just constant feelings of uncertainty, of fear and anxiety, and I don't sleep. I haven't slept well in 5 years. I tend to wake up often, not a long duration of sleep before I wake up again, and then again, and I always wake up just in tremendous fear, and often in a panic, I feel like. And it's not always from nightmares. It's just, I wake up and then I'm feeling, it's the darkness, yet I can see in my head, or, waking up, I can see myself just being melted away. And I can't fall back asleep well. Is this living? I think so, because even though I've got a lot of these difficulties, and I fully acknowledge and I fully see, I also recognize all of the newfound joy and newfound happiness that has happened from valuing my life and the life that I'm creating even more than I did before. It's so much more than before. And I take solace in that because that's important. I used to say growing up with my sister and brother, we'd joke and I'd say, after staying up late or whatever and all that, I'd say I'll get enough sleep when I'm dead, which was kind of a viewpoint that the moment is so much more important than anything else. Living in the moment and finding the excitement and the challenge and whatever in the moment today. After being so close to death in real life, I find that that's a very shallow way of thinking. I don't want to die. Not anytime soon. I got a lot of things I want to do. And frankly, I just enjoy living and finding experiences. This accident has taught me that. So yeah, it was the best, worst thing to happen in my life. Don't recommend it, but I would do it 1,000 times over again to have this feeling of appreciation and love and joy and happiness that I'm feeling mixed in with all of the PTSD and the fear, anxiety, and just, constantly not being able to be close to fire, which I love doing. I live in Texas, and I haven't barbecued, grilled in 5 years. Love it. Love it. I make great ribs. Delicious ribs. And they're not the same when you make them in the oven or when somebody else does it for you. I hope to one day get back there. But I honestly don't think I will. Even just the other day, cleaning our kitchen, and have a gas stove that I don't use, but just cleaning it, and I accidentally, while cleaning it, knocked the knob, and it of course ignited. Right in front of me. I freaked out so bad. I barely got it closed, and I was on the floor for a while, just unable to move. How do you start grilling and barbecuing again when something like that stunts your experience so dramatically? How do you go camping and have a campfire and smoke marshmallows? How do you handle birthday cakes? And how do you cook again on a gas stove? How do any of you that have gone through this find a way back to at least be closer to fire? That's an important question I would love to hear some answers on, because I don't know. I'm at a loss. It's been almost 5 years. I can at least watch movies that have fire explosions. I have to squint really hard, and if the character's on fire, I have to look away. But at least I'm there. and watching and enjoying the movie. And I thought that was enough. I thought I was able to move forward, and eventually Fire and I would have a friendly relationship, if you will. It's not happening. It is not happening. And I don't know what to do. So if you got ideas, please share them. I'm all ears. I don't have too much else I want to get into today because it's kind of an initial podcast video. I think what I'll be doing going forward with these PTSD-iRL episodes is basically taking one aspect of my accident or one aspect of PTSD and fleshing it out a lot further, sharing my thoughts, hopefully getting some feedback from y'all, and grow together on that. And hopefully some of y'all, or one of y'all, or maybe even me, will help each other to have a more friendly relationship with fire. Or even whatever trauma you've been through. PTSD, it doesn't affect everybody the same, I don't think. But there are some commonalities, and there are things we can learn from each other. So I'm happy to hear your stories. When you look at things from a different angle, I think you can only grow. Because if you're looking in from one direction only, you kind of get in that mindset that what you know is all you know, and nothing else is going to impact that. Well, reality is somebody who's looking from the other side can see what's going on with you maybe a little easier, or what they have to say might stimulate something in your brain that gives you kind of a thought that helps. So let's do this. My other videos are going to be more fun. It's going to be interactive with another person, and we'll have a conversation, go over serious topics about fatherhood, about what is an expert, one that somebody and I want to talk about all the things that real people in the neighborhood have to deal with, or things that we don't have to deal with, but we bring a different perspective to it. Because we're not the experts. We're not the people on TV. We're just people like you in our own neighborhood who get together a lot and talk and express. And we're just going to video it and let you guys watch, and we'll interact. And we'll all grow together on those things. So look for it. Like, subscribe, and share the video, because that's how this grows. I really appreciate you guys tuning in, checking it out, and I'll look forward to hearing from you and check you out in the next one. Thank you.